Good evening, Norcal Karters, and we're back with another live stream. And tonight we are joined by Andy Seesemann with Challenge of the Americas. And if you're tuning in right now, you can see us on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, your choice. You could chat if you have a question for any one of our guests tonight. So without further ado, let's bring on Andy. Good evening, Andy.
The season of giving is
buddy.
winding
How are
down.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I was trying to log in on Facebook so I could share it that we were going live right now, and then it got really loud and confusing. So I just
Yeah, you don't want to try to do either YouTube or Facebook Live. Watch yourself when it's streaming.
No, I don't want to watch myself. I was going to try to share it to get more people on.
But there we go. So here we have Andy Seesemann, Challenge of the Americas. So we're going to talk about 2021, some of the highlights from 2021, and then 2022. You kick off the season here in January 26th.
Absolutely, buddy.
All right. And then also we have Ryan Ruth.
Hello.
Ryan Ruth from Ruthless Karting out of Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
For sure.
So, Andy wanted to bring you along and we're going to talk about Andy tonight. So I think he picked guests based on who's going to talk about Andy the most.
Yeah, that's a wrong choice then.
Your mic's live, Andy.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I know. My mic's always live, buddy.
I could talk about you, Andy.
So once again, this is Ryan Ruth, the owner of Ruthless Karting out of Phoenix, Arizona. And our final guest tonight is factory driver Ryan Martin. So tonight I might go back and forth between Ruthless and Martin. I might drop their first name just because we have two Ryans on tonight. Ryan Martin, thanks for joining us tonight. You're representing Ron White Racing.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
Man, you already got your PR cap on.
Yeah, for sure. You got to keep promoting it, you know.
That's right.
But hey, we're here to talk about Andy tonight.
We're here to talk about Andy.
I'm just happy you made the jump from satisfactory driver to factory driver. That was a big jump for you. So,
dude, I'm stoked. It's been a cool pleasure to have.
I didn't know how to spell satisfactory, so I had to call him the factory driver.
Perfect.
So let's get to it. 2021. So that was your 14th season, correct, of Challenge of the Americas?
Yeah, it's crazy to believe, right? When I was writing the email, every year I read a December email to potential sponsors and supporters and team managers. You know, I know Ryan Ruthless got one, Ryan Martin's boss Ron White got one, but you know, I can't believe it's 15 years. So I mean, last year being 14 and this year going into 15, it's unbelievable. It's a big accomplishment, but it's amazing looking back that it's been that long.
Does it feel like time has just flown by? It was yesterday.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. It's like you hear all the cliches about getting older, right? I'm 51, and you hear the stories. People say, you know, that the days and weeks crawl by, but the months and years fly by. And I never understood that when I was 30, but at 50, 51, I totally understand that, right? So, looking back, I mean, we started this thing in 2008 and, just rolling the dice. I announced it at the Vortex Grand Nationals in 2007 at Centennial. I was scheduled to be my first race ever was going to be at Moran, and literally 3 weeks before our opener, Moran shut down. So I had to scramble, put a race together at Willow Springs. And then the middle race was at Sonoma, and the old time remember that one as the race that the month through basically blew out Sunday. We had to cancel Sunday, and then the final race was at Xplex, the very last race ever promoted at Xplex, and we had to do the Sonoma final and the two Xplex finals there. It was an unbelievable first season, and yes, in some respects, it feels like it was just yesterday. It's crazy.
Nice. So now, how would you say? Now you're going on your 15th year. Looking back to that first year, did you walk into that first event and was like, "Oh, I'm going to own this shit," or was there a lot of apprehension? What was your mindset then, and now what is it now going into your 15th season at Tucson?
Well, I used to, I started out in I started FTK in the fall of 2. And then in summer of 04, I took over what was called the Gators Karting Cup. It was started by actually the two guys that started e-karting news, Glenn Holland and Brian Stiver. But after a year and a half, they realized that they thought they were going to get rich in karting, and they realized about a year and a half later that wasn't the case. And they decided to sell the series, and I bought it for them. So I ran the Gators Karting Cup, which is a very successful California, Rotex Challenge series. And then Joe Ramos came to me, and like I said, in the middle of 07, and said, "Hey, let's try to mirror the Winter Tour out west." So we just rolled the dice and did it. And I'd put events together for a couple years, but the challenge was going to be something bigger, more pageantry, bigger prizes, higher quality driver, a higher quality event, and running the first event, I felt like I knew what I was doing, and by the end, I realized I didn't know shit.
Now, again, we're fast forward 15 years. How do you feel going into Tucson?
Well, I feel great. I mean, there's always doubts. I mean, maybe it's just me because I'm the guy that always looks in here. I'm the guy that if there's a problem, I'm always going to blame me first and figure out how I'm going to solve it. It's never somebody else's fault. It's never another reason why I failed or why I had a challenge. I always look at myself. And so every year you wonder, right? As promoters or as karting businesses, man, are we going to get those return customers? Or are we going to get enough new guys to cover the people that leave every year? Or are we going to pick up another team? You know what I mean? So there's always that challenge to that doubt in the back of your head. Have we done enough in this off season? Did we do enough last year to build for next year? And, every year it always surprised me. Yeah, we did it. And I think this year is going to be the biggest ever. I mean, 21 was bigger than 20. 20 was bigger than 19. 19 was bigger than 18. I mean, the last several years with Rock, every year got bigger. So, we're adding people, by 10, 20, 30 every year. And I think we're going to do the same this year. But once again, when you're sitting around doing the planning in June and then around Thanksgiving, and then you open the entries in, December 5th, and no entries come in that first week because, of course, nobody enters 8 weeks in advance. People don't enter 8 days in advance anymore. So there's always that doubt in your head. And then, in the end, you're like, okay, I guess I think I know what I'm doing.
So then you've mentioned this on other shows we've done together. Give it a moment to speak to the importance of pre-registering from a race promoter standpoint.
It's critical. I mean, no matter, obviously I understand it from a consumer standpoint, from the end user. They want to hold on to their dollars as long as they can, right? We just got done with Christmas. I mean, everybody's credit cards are smoking right now. I mean, they're literally like waving them in the wind to keep the smoke coming off. And it's like, whether you're racing on the East Coast and you got, SCUSA Winter Program and Winter Tour, or you got Challenge of the Americas, or you're thinking about USPKS coming up in March. I mean, everybody's got, and all the family stuff you got to deal with, right? Yeah, but from a promoter standpoint, we're in that same boat. We're trying to program how many tires we need, how much fuel do we need, all those consumables that we all supply. And it's like, I can't just call up Florida and say, hey, I need a semi truck full of tires like on January 23rd and deliver them on the 26th because we got a race on the 27th, right? We're months out. And, and to be fair to my competitors, Tom's the same way, even though he's the importer, he's not going to have, 8 ships worth of tires in his warehouse. And Mark Coates isn't going to have containers of tires in his warehouse. And Garrett's the same way. We're all suppliers. We're all worried about supply chain stuff. And for sure right now, the whole world knows where we're at in the supply chain deal. So it's gotten even tighter. I mean, we're waiting on tires right now that have been sitting off of the coast of Miami for 3.5 weeks. And they're supposed to deliver this week to then ship out the following week to get to me in time. Right. So it's just programming. It's just planning. And then, of course, if we don't have enough, then we all look like jackasses because we didn't have enough because all the teams wanted to order practice tires. So, yeah, the point being, in a long, drawn-out, Andy way, the pre-entries help a huge, huge way so we can all program our races properly.
Yeah. So speaking of teams, let's bring on Ryan Ruth here from Ruthless.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for joining us. And again, it's you and I go. I don't want to tell people how far you and I go back because then we kind of age ourselves. But talk to us about the Challenge of the Americas or the California Rock Championship Series. And also, were you running with Andy back in the day when he was doing the road tax stuff?
Oh, absolutely. I think I started doing Challenge of Americas in this is probably 2008. I came out and
that's year one, by the way.
Is it okay? And then it was 2010,
Okay.
and it was you guys had come to Phoenix, and I had been out of karting for a little bit and doing open wheel race cars. And right there was when the economy kind of crashed out, and I met Joey from Overdrive Motorsports and came out and mechanicked with him for a weekend, and have been doing the series ever since then. And then when I started my team in probably this is 2011, 2012, and then we've just been supporting ever since. It's great, right? They come to my backyard, which is in Phoenix most of the time. I was a little afraid we weren't going to this year. And then with Fontana having issues, they came back to Phoenix. Either way, I was going to support it, but I'm pumped, right? Like it's a little bit less expensive for that one round. So for me, I get to sleep in my own bed. And then Tucson's only 2 hours from here. So I'm excited to go racing this year. I have some I kind of started doing more cadets the last 2 years just because you start kids at 8 or 7 years old. They stick around a little bit longer. So I got a big group of cadets coming out and then some seniors and juniors also. So it's exciting. Getting ready to order tires.
Andy's like, come on, let's get order in.
For sure. Just get everything sorted out and start doing some testing. And then we race here in Phoenix twice a month. So
you just had a race this week. You just had a race yesterday, right?
We raced yesterday, and then I do a track practice day with my drivers where we rent the track for a couple hours every Wednesday. And we just do like, our track is open at night every day except Monday. So I do a Wednesday where I rent the track from like 4 to 6, and then the track opens up for the regular members after that. So we kind of run into the night, but right now it gets so cold. So I'm usually out of there by 7 o'clock. But yeah, it's good. Just got plenty. I have 6 drivers. I think we're running confirmed, and then I'm sure I'll have 3 or 4 add before the Tucson round.
Yeah, so we have Tucson, we have Phoenix, we have Sonoma. So yeah, for you this year, that's going to look really good on your mileage.
Yes. Well, and Fontana isn't bad for me either. I can make it there in 4.5 hours. So I go there a lot. This Sonoma's the long one for me. It's 13, but not too bad, right? Like the track is awesome, and the competition is always good from up there.
Well, speaking of Sonoma, that's a great segue. Let's bring on Ryan Martin.
Perfect. How you smooth that in.
I might be good at this stuff.
You might be good at this stuff. Ryan Martin. So you are here on behalf of Ron White Racing.
Yes, I am. It's been a very short but busy off season for us, and we're just getting ready and excited to go racing here in a couple weeks in Tucson.
Very cool. So I know you were out the challenge stuff last year.
Yes.
Why don't you give us some highlights from last year for you?
I think biggest thing for me, like moving from tag to shifter last year, was one right off the bat, trying to get up to speed in a shifter and going to different tracks, different driving styles, as well as going from a tag where I race tag all year and I do one warm-up session in a shifter and I'm more tired than I've ever been before. So that was a big part of it, was trying to get up to speed in that. And the challenge, Phoenix went okay, LA was okay, just kind of mid-pack running, and we rolled up to Sonoma, and we were top 5, top 10, which was for me really, like, I was pretty happy with that. And we were just able to keep on rolling through the year and getting more seat time, getting a race win, and just kept rolling with it. And now we're ready to come back for 2022.
Nice. And I like this perspective that we have with, again, we have Andy, we have Ryan Ruth, and then we have you representing Ron White. It's neat, the different industry backgrounds, if you will. We have promoter, we have driver, and you're not just a factory driver for Ron White. I mean, you're really his go-to guy in the shop too.
Yeah, we spend too many. We joke we spend too many hours there, and we spend more time with each other than anyone else. So you get to know people pretty good. But no, it's pretty good. We're looking forward to it. We got a good lineup of drivers coming to the first round, and then after that, we're gonna have more drivers, and then obviously the last round for us being at Sonoma, our backyard, we're gonna have, I think, even more drivers for that race too. So looking forward to it. I think Ron's gonna get the helmet on and go race some laps this year.
Is he running Masters?
Nope, not yet.
Everyone's like, no.
Not yet. He's still
Ron
he's
may not race Masters until he collects Social Security.
Yeah.
That'd be fair.
Even then, I think he'd quit first.
I know we have Kevin Woods coming back. I know he won the championship last year in Masters, but I mean, he was running senior all year, and he was running up front mid pack at the pro shifter races. So I think he's still kind of deciding what he's going to do. I'm not 100% sure yet on what class he's going to run, but I know he'll be back. And then I think we have a couple more Masters guys in the shifter class as well.
Yeah, I was giving Kevin Woods a lot of love last year at the live feeds, because knowing he was running the Masters, and I kept saying, oh, he dropped down to run with the pros. And yeah, he was right there in the top, 4, top 5 all the time.
I mean, the one race he qualified on pole by, like, was a 10th or 2 over like some really fast guys that race shifter every week. So it was pretty impressive for him to jump down or jump up to the senior class and really show us young guys what they can do.
I was just about to say that means he outqualified you.
Oh yes, he did. I was looking at the data as much as I could that weekend.
So there we have. That's Ryan Martin again representing Ron White Racing. And Andy, what's Sonoma mean to you going up to Sonoma?
Sonoma has always, my word about Sonoma is it's the best piece of karting real estate in the country. I mean, regardless of what the track is, I mean, it's it's like that. I call it the infinity kart track. It's like an infinity pool, right? The way it's up on the ledge there. But I mean, it's been a home for me since day one of the challenge. I mean, it was on our very first year. I think out of 15 years, we've been there 12 times. This will be the 12th time, so I don't miss it very much. It's only been some times when schedules didn't work or there was something big at the track and couldn't make work. But they've been great partners. I mean, whether it was way in the past when Adrian and Kip, is that right, Jason?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Used to run, the program up there when it was Rotax, and then when Steve took over several years ago. I mean, they've just been great partners for what we do. We always try to align on our rules. If I make a little bit of an exception, Steve does the same thing, and vice versa. I mean, it's just such a great community up there, and they've been very supportive of what I do. I try to do the same and give them the same amount of support right back. So it's a traditional home. There's only 4 tracks that the challenge can legitimately go to, in the time of year that we race, but also in the type of event we bring it in what I guess people not on this side of the fence understand sometimes is it's not just the track surface, it's the facility, it's the how close is there a hotel, how close are there restaurants, how close is there an airport. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, and regardless of the grid and the scales and the announcer booth and all the other stuff. So realistically, it's Tucson, Phoenix, Cal Speed, and Sonoma. Those are the 4 tracks that we can go to, and it's no surprise that those are the 4 tracks that are 1, 2, 3, and 4, on our all-time list. I mean, we've done a challenge race, we've done a few at, like at Willow, we've done one at Xplex, but it's always 3 of those 4 every year. So I'm happy to just keep going back to Sonoma. They've been a great partner. And it will be for quite some time.
Yeah, and then speaking of the Arizona tracks, traditionally, isn't Phoenix your kickoff round?
It has and it hasn't. I mean, we've kicked off in Phoenix. We did it in the very beginning. I first went to Phoenix in year 2 in 2009, and then I found out how great of a place Tucson was. I just had never gone, so then I started to go there, and then we kicked off at Tucson. I think Ryan Ruth. I think we kicked off at Tucson maybe 5 years in a row. Does that sound about right, Ryan?
Yeah.
And then
It's a good one. It's a good racetrack.
it's a great racetrack. I mean, I'll circle back around, but it's like we just never known about Tucson. Tucson is one of those hidden gems. It's a grand junction. It's just hard to get to for people, and people have this this idea in their brain that it's just so far in the middle of nowhere, right? And Tucson's literally 2 hours past Phoenix. It's not. I mean, if I'm driving 6.5 from Southern California, 8.5 is not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But for some reason, sometimes that mental block for people, it's just so far. And once you get there, you realize what a great track it is. I mean, the track races so phenomenally. I mean, some of the best races the Challenge has ever had have been at that track. And Charlie, the owner, we love him and we love his quirks. But he's very accommodating, Ryan Ruth. He's very accommodating to our community. He lets people camp there and come. You want to come? I mean, Uncle Jimmy, right? Our friend from Canada. Uncle Jimmy left Vegas and moved to Tucson. He literally lives at the track in Tucson, and he'll live there from November 7th through when we go to Phoenix in February, right? So he loves karting. He takes care of our community. We got to always work through a couple things when we're there, but for sure it's a great racetrack. That's a good place to go.
Yeah,
he's
correct
building.
me if I'm wrong. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
He's building out there too, right? Like I think he's putting a car track out there.
Yeah, I was just out there a few weeks ago. I took a day flight to go visit him. They ran into some snags with the county, like always happens with these projects, right? So if it's not the county, it's funding, and then the minute he finds the funding, then the county throws it. And then the county says okay, and the funding's gone away, right? So he's always doing that juggle. He's got a good deal out there. He does some drifting stuff. He has a good contract with the sheriffs. Like the sheriffs do all their defensive teaching. Their sheriffs how to drive. He uses their skid pad and stuff. So that place is always active. Just karting isn't on that track very often, to be honest.
Yeah. They bicycle race out there.
They do a criterium. They call them criteria, right?
Yeah.
Like,
come on,
bicycles?
No criteria, right?
I've known Charlie for a long time, and so in the 90s, he would come to our go-kart shop and always come and tell us, "Oh yeah, I'm building this track in Tucson. We're gonna do this." I'm like, yeah. And this, he would just come out of the blue, come into Phoenix and come by our shop, and sure as shit, he builds that place, and it's a palace, right? Like it's a really nice go-kart track. And
we remember the very first race. Remember the big Cars race there?
Well, they had cactus 10 feet off the racetrack, creosote bush everywhere, and it was pretty bad. But now it's like it's an amazing facility, lit, like the light. It's like daytime at night there. It's really good.
They do have about the best lights of any car track I've been to so far. I mean, I know that Phoenix is spending some money and getting some new lights, right?
Yes.
But the lights at Tucson by far are the best I've seen, for sure. Well,
in the summertime, they run till 1 o'clock in the morning there.
Well, yeah, because it's 132 degrees. You don't want to be out there in the daytime.
Yeah.
And we do the same out there that we do when we come to Phoenix. We bring the food trucks in. We have a good time, and it's just a great place.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people camp. You camp there. You live when you go there. You camp there. So.
Not this year, but yes.
Well, you got rid of the motorhome.
Yes, but the airport hotel is nice and not far, 10 minutes. So it's a good place.
By the way, that's a great segue, Jason, to one of the talking points. I think our room block closes today or tomorrow.
The 3rd.
And because of the gem show, there is a very big shortage of rooms at a reasonable price. So if you need a room, you better get it now, or you're going to be paying $200 a night.
Did you say gem show?
Tucson has a world famous gem show.
Yes. Now, is that the one? Is that it? Always seems when you go to Tucson, there's always another big event going on. So hotels have always been one of those touch and go things for Tucson.
Gem show is always the first 2 weeks of February there, but when are we going to go? We're going to go either the end of January or the end of February. So the gem show is right in the middle of those two events. It's just like when we go to Phoenix, it's right when spring training opens this year. So once again, if you're going to go to Phoenix, you better book your room now because those rooms don't last either. Yeah, and the blocks are limited. We didn't get a lot of players, and because they know they can charge, what they want. So take advantage of those blocks because once they're gone, they're gone. Don't call me and say, can you squeeze me another room, because they're just not out there.
Why not?
Yeah, they just don't exist because I'm not in the hotel business.
You're not in the hotel business. So we already have some questions coming in. You guys want to take some questions?
There's questions? How do I even see them? Is it in comments or private chat?
It's on comments. If you have the comments tab on your side.
Yeah.
It's not in private chat.
There it is. Too. Look at that.
Okay, so the first one we have is this one.
Oh, this is more for the Ryans.
This is for Ryan. Yeah, exactly. Ryan and Ryan. I was thinking of running different tire pressures and tires that get more wear. I usually get more wear on right front on counterclockwise tracks, for example. Now I'm going to have to draw on the air because I'm visual. All the turns left cause more wear on the right. Should I put more or less tire pressure or the same on the right front? All right, Ryan Martin, we want the tire pressures for Kevin Woods.
1 sec. I'm drawing this out in my head. I'm trying to draw this out. I don't know what I'm confused.
So here's the first thing you say, Ryan. If it's a counterclockwise track and you're getting more wear on your right front, that means you're driving into the corner too hard. It's not the tire's fault.
That's coming from the guy that sells the tire.
There you go.
No. Ask Ryan and Ryan. If the right front is your most worn out tire, that means you're driving in too hard.
Yes.
I think a follow-up to that would be what tire are you running? Are you checking your rollout? There's a lot of variables. You want to hit this one, Ryan Ruth?
Maybe run less pressure in that right front. I mean, what track are you running on?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. What track?
Because some tracks.
When you're running tires, do you run a stagger throughout the cart, or do you run everything straight up?
You just said a Vinco Blue. He just answered the Vinco Blue.
Man, look at that.
Well, there's your problem.
Evenco Blue. We'll let Andy answer that one.
Change to a Levanto.
All right. I just lost the Evenco sponsorship.
Evenco at Davis.
Oh, so he's a local Norcal guy.
Oh, I know nothing about that track.
What direction did he say he was going on the track?
Counterclockwise. So that's the normal direction at Blue Max.
Huh. I've never been to Blue Max.
That means let's see, there's only really 3 left corners on that track. And only one's a hairpin, one's high speed downhill. So that means either the tire pressures or set up on the go-kart, because the one is a high speed, depending even in a shifter, you're pretty much flat out coming down the hill. So like they were saying, maybe try lower tire pressures. I know when we go there, we usually go a little bit lower, depending. And the other thing too is that track, depending on the time of day, usually the grip there is not that good with a dirt road right next to it. So definitely lower pressure, or maybe add some more front grip to the go-kart.
Yep. And then also I would add, I ran 206 out there for a couple of years, and being that it's going to be predominantly left-hand corners at that track, if you're trying to get even tire wear, don't always look for that.
Yeah, you won't get that there.
Yeah, because everything but turn one they're going to be fast left-hand corners, except for turn one. Turn one's kind of just throw it in there, bounce off the guy on the outside, and then set up for 2.
Well, I guess that's a good point. If he's doing the hairpin, then the straight or not too. If you're not doing the hairpin, then you have another long left corner, like you said. I know when we go there, we always run the U-turn. So
track matters.
Shout out Blue Max, though. Thanks for your question, Blue Max.
I know. We got the Norcal drivers chiming in.
I love it.
I thought there was another one in there too, but let's see here.
No.
Maybe that was pretty much it.
I don't know. We should ask the producer. Producer Ashley, are there any more questions?
No, I'm going down through them. He said, "Okay, thanks."
Okay, thanks. Yeah, good old Blue Max. Yeah, I drove there for a couple of years. My buddy Patrick Newton was out there, and he was really pushing hard the 206 stuff. And yeah, there was some great racing out there.
Yeah, no, that's
Which is the one with the bugs in the summertime?
That would be mostly Dixon or Kinsman
Yeah.
Kart Club.
Dixon.
Yeah, so Andy knows about the NorCal bugs. Ryan Ruth, do you know about the NorCal bugs?
I definitely know about Dixon. I've been to that dirt track a bunch of times.
Oh, there you go.
And
yeah.
the nasty wind
Yep.
at Dixon, just you don't know what you're gonna. It's a mess there.
You know, I've been lucky since I moved here. I haven't experienced the Dixon bugs yet, but Ron's pretty smart about not sending us out in that mayhem that I've heard about it.
I think you do it once.
Yeah.
I think you do it one time when you tell yourself, like, oh, it's not that bad. And then you go out there and they start living in your helmet. They sit on your sock line. They sit on your cuff line, and they just eat away.
Are they
I've heard-
like what bugs are they?
So locally we call them no-see-ums.
Oh.
And it's like a tiny biting gnat. And all you really see is their wing.
Mhm.
And they come out right after in the spring, before the heat comes out and kind of dries everything out.
Mm-hmm.
So when all the vernal pools are out there, they come out during that, and they're gnarly.
That place is right near the Delta, right? So it's
Yes.
on the Delta, so you get all that moisture.
Yes.
I know Ron's told me stories where he showed up in his Vox van to break in an engine with his suit completely on, helmet on, open the back door, put the go-kart down, drive, put it back in, get in the van, drive away, and then take his driving gear off because they're gnarly.
Gross.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh no, I had a buddy go into the hospital because he had allergic reaction. And I thought he was joking, and he sent me pictures like, oh my God, like it was gnarly. That was a rare case. But here we have a question from Justin Heath. You got that one, Ashley?
Yeah.
Are they going to run the VLR Senior and KA together in Tucson? Andy Seesemann.
Well, they running them is all part of who shows up.
Yes.
But yes, it's part of our rules. If you look on our website, our class list is listed. Our rule set is listed. We have a supplemental. But yes, we are allowing the KA in all 100cc classes.
Oh, there we go. And then I know we're waiting on Sears Point. I'm sorry. I just dated myself.
Wow, Sears Point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, sorry. Ryan and Ashley are probably going, where's that? So I'm waiting on.
I know where
Steve
that
is waiting
is.
to hear back to see if they're going to do the same thing out at Sonoma. That's probably been the number 2 question for NorCal rock related stuff this year.
What's the number one question?
What's that?
What's the number one question?
Number 1 question that I've had for Sonoma specifically has been tic-tac-toe.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I was going to ask that. What are we doing for our race, Andy, on the tic-tac-toe? How is that? Did you
We're
guys
gonna
change it or?
We'll run clockwise, full track, including, you know that they rebuilt tic-tac-toe, Ryan. Did you see it? Right.
No, I
Oh.
don't.
Yeah, they've changed it.
If you run the old tic-tac-toe, you're going to sell some parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
because
I don't know if it was selling frames before.
Ashley, is there any way you could look up the picture that somebody posted and put it on the screen? Is that possible?
Yes.
Ashley can do that. She's our producer.
Yeah, I drove the track right before Christmas, and I mean they did the cutoff right before tic-tac-toe instead of running it. But basically, what they've done is the first apex curb is flat, where you can run over it and not basically jump your go-kart. And then they've basically moved the second apex over, I want to say 15 to 20 feet,
To the
and
right.
that's like to the right. Yes, correct, to the right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like flattened everything out, and then it's more of a pronounced left-hander corner that leads into another right. So it's really slowed down the track layout from what I've heard on the guys that ran that layout. But definitely flat, that's for sure. Like basically all the
Ryan,
curbs are flat.
Martin, if you're not hammering or flying over the existing curb, is the apex relatively in the same spot for the first part of tic-tac-toe?
Yeah, I'd say it's the exact same spot.
Same spot. Okay.
Yeah.
So tic-tac-toe. So tack and toe are quite different.
Yes, those are very different. And then, I mean, if you're running the pro layout, they've flattened the second apex curve as well. And then on the exit, they added a runoff curve there that's flat that you can run as well.
See, if I was good at this media stuff, I would have had you send me a video, and we'd be running the video right now of your onboard footage.
Yeah, no, that would have been awesome. You know, we were there. There's a lot of people there, actually. It was pretty good. It was the last day they ran before Christmas and stuff. So I know, like, I was out there driving and a bunch of other people, James Monaco and the guys. So
Nice. Get that winter testing in. All right, we have a
oh,
question.
dude, it
here
was
from-
cold.
It was cold.
It was, dude, it was 45 degrees out, and we were all out there driving.
You're from Canada. That's like summer.
I'm spoiled
Didn't
now.
you just drive for like PSL Newfoundland?
No, I was from the West Coast, so I drove with like the Dowler family, Apollo Motorsport. Then I went with Ryan Perry, and then we're also in Performance Group. And now I'm with Ron White. So
Who ran PSL Newfoundland? What was his name? That he was Alan Rudolph's big sponsor back in the day.
I'm trying to think. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'll be sending a text later tonight when the name comes to my head. Yeah, I'm not sure.
All right, we have a question from Jensen13 for Ryan Ruth. Why won't Ruthless be camping in Tucson?
From Altsman of all people.
Is that who that is?
Yeah, that's Jensen.
He's just shaking his head. All right.
Tell him to drive the motor. Tell him to drive Dad's motorhome.
Yeah, he can. No problem. He can drive his dad's motorhome over there. I'll stay in that palace.
There you go.
Perfect. And it has a bar. That's the best part.
Nice.
My trailer has a bar.
Okay, now we got. Hold on, guys. Now we have 2 more questions.
Let me address
Three
John
more
Smith's
questions.
question real quick.
Yeah.
So
Do you
John
know who John
Smith,
Smith is?
I wish Sonoma would have
do.
more open practice.
We all do. We all do.
John Smith. Well, honestly, this one confuses me. There is a real John Smith out there that I know that runs at Prairie City with a Burrell and a CR80 shifter. John Smith here, Martin.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Mr. Martin.
Are you thinking of
I
Jeff
wish
Smith?
Sonoma would have more open practices. So
Oh.
Martin and I have talked about this, and
Yes.
he understands. He's talked to the track directly. Not to he's addressed it with Steve Cameron, but it's the big track. It's the Sonoma Raceway track, and it's the. I'll just be blunt. It's the finances.
Yeah.
Do you want to make $100 a day on go-kart practice, or do you want to book a $15,000 concession cart day for a Coca-Cola? I mean, it really is that. It's just like that. So with that being said, let's go to gear nuts.
No, hold on. No, let me continue with that a little bit.
Okay.
Karters, I hate to say it, in many ways are our own worst enemies, right? Because we get these facilities, right? I mean, Sonoma, Cal Speed, Phoenix, Tucson, all these places, and they can make, as you just stated, far more money renting it out to a corporate deal, Joe Blow thing. Those of us that come and pay our $50 to practice and our $15 wristband are the complainers, are we park where we want, we pull in, we give the manager shit, we're not appreciative, and then we get mad when the facilities go away. And I don't know how to get rid of that. I don't think it's a karting thing, it's a human thing. But understand that if we don't start appreciating these tracks more, if we don't start supporting them more as best we can, they're going to be gone. They're just going to be gone.
Yeah. Or they're just going to be private concession tracks.
They'll just be concession tracks. I mean, look, there's a reason why Cal Speed has like one open practice day on a weekend a month. They're open every Wednesday and Friday, but there's like one Sunday a month. Otherwise,
I didn't realize it was that restricted down there.
It's LAKC Saturday and Sunday that weekend.
Yep.
There is Tri-C Saturday, and then they have Sprint Series, Super Series, and Ironman the other days, right? So there's always something going on, and legitimately, there's one open practice day, sometimes 2 a month there on the weekend.
On the weekend, yeah.
Right? Because they make more money. I mean, they sell out their Super Series, which is where they take their 35 go-karts and run them, a bunch of heat races and stuff. 120 guys a month on one day that spend $150. They're going to jump in and out of concession carts. So Would they rather do that, or would they rather put up with a guy that complained that he only got 7 practice sessions or 8 on a Saturday?
Yeah, that's good input from a different perspective from the promoting side. Let's see here. We're gonna go to Gear Nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Ashley. All right, I'll stop touching my mouse.
Okay.
Hey now.
Hey now. Gear Nuts. Hey guys, my son got into karting at 8 years old. We run at Dixon, Stockton, and Prairie City. Guys like Jason keep our running costs bearable. How do each of you end up in karting? I don't want to ask Andy this question because it's going to turn into a 4-hour podcast, and we already have 4 episodes of Andy. Hey Andy, in 30 seconds, how did you get into karting?
My stepdad asked me to get into it from the time I was 8. I put him off till I was 12. I started racing at 12. I raced from 12 to 15. I left that house, came out to California, lived with my dad. My dad had zero interest in motorsports or anything mechanical, but I always loved karting. I finished high school, finished college, and 1 month after getting married, I rolled my wife up to Oxnard Kart Track where the Jim Hall School was, and I said, look how cool this is, and I bought us a go-kart the same week.
Us.
And 25 years later, I'm still here.
Perfect. So I didn't mean to be rude to Andy about the podcast, but him and I have had a number of podcasts that each one gets longer and longer.
Yeah,
And they're actually great podcasts. And listening to them and how knowledgeable in the history Andy has with karting is quite fun to get into. So when this is over, I'll post the links to those episodes as well. Ryan Ruth.
I don't think Ryan Ruth's history is very much different than mine, man. He's just a tick younger.
He's just a tick younger. All right. I'm not going to say keep yours to 30 seconds, but how did you get into karting?
Well, I started racing quarter midgets at like 4 years old, actually in Northern California, in Rio Linda. I think it's called Capital Quarter Midget Club.
Was that Roundy Round?
Yep, that was
Roundy
in 1980, and then got into go-karting like at 13 years old. And my family's, I'm 3rd generation go-kart racer. My father raced, my grandfather started in go-karting, real early, like at the beginning. So been doing it ever since.
Go a little bit deeper into that because I know your family, so I know there's a lot of karting history there. Give everyone a quick rundown of the family business and from the karting side.
Oh, okay. So so my brother's a racer also, Curtis, and he has a go-karting shop here in Phoenix called Innovative Karting. It was our family business as we grew up. And so we both raced pretty competitively through our teens. And gosh, both of us are still in the sport to this day. We started here at PKRA in Phoenix. And gosh, I think we've raced at just about every track across the United States. And, it's a good business, right? Like, it's not going to make $1 million doing this, but I surely enjoy what I do. And I know a lot of people can't say that.
Yeah, I think it's a testimony to the family too, like the karting family. You and I go back to the original Pro Tour stuff.
For sure.
And
my brother did more of that. Like when Pro Tour started, I was starting to race dirt midgets, USAC midgets, and more of that. And then my brother did a lot more of the Pro Tour and Constructors Cup actually before the Pro Tour.
Yeah, there's some cool pictures of your brother, like back in the days at the old Charlotte, the North American Karting Championship, Charlotte.
My dad took my brother to the CIK World Championships they had at Charlotte. He had never driven a shifter cart, and entered him in that race in a shifter cart.
That would have been what, Formula C?
Yes, it was in Formula C. So like 50 horsepower.
Yeah.
Never drove a shifter cart before.
Here you go.
It was pretty rad.
Those that don't know, when he says CIK World championships.
It was the World Championships.
The world, like not a title. This was the World Championships.
No, it was all the
backed
guys
by
from
the
Europe.
factories from Europe coming to America to race.
Yes, Biggio won.
Yeah.
Biggio won, and I think Valiente second.
Yeah. And
That's
what that
the Biggio
which was-
he crossed the finish line like this. That was his fourth.
was his fourth.
But Valiente,
tagged on 2 more.
Valiente, I think Valiente second. Like that was a big deal.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
A North American guy, you know,
Yeah. We're
Unknown-
world
maybe
like
unknown at that time was pretty rad.
yeah.
Yeah, but Ryan's selling himself short a little bit. Ryan's the only guy who literally leaves the go-kart track and then goes to a sprint car show and works over there, and then goes to the freaking dirt track and works on micro sprints, and then all of a sudden he's back at the go-kart track Sunday morning. I mean, this guy's a racer true and true, and then asphalt or dirt, I think he's pretty knowledgeable and he gets it done no matter where he goes. He sells himself short sometimes.
So Ryan's our racing hustler.
Yeah. Oh, he's a hustler. Look at him.
The hustle.
I gotta
Not
make
like I'm gonna hustle you, but
I gotta make $1 somewhere.
Well, Judy pays the bills, and she cracks the whip on Ryan for sure. So,
all right, I'm gonna put my producer Ashley on the spot here
Okay.
because you raced. So
Oh
Ashley,
my God, Jason. Okay.
yeah. So
All right.
Ashley,
So Jason.
how
Jason
did you
gives
get
me-
started in karting?
Okay, Jason gives me a lot of credit, but it was kid carts, guys. Like kid carts. Okay.
We were just talking about the World Championship.
And so my family's been involved in karting for a long time. My dad, Bobby Chavez, was a karter in the 80s, early 90s. Then my grandpa went on to work with Bobby Orgel from PR1 Motorsports. So imagine being a kid and running around, seeing all that getting built and stuff like that. So then I started, while my cousin David was racing, David Vasquez, shout out, hey. He started racing and I just started following with him, and I enjoyed it so much that I was like, hey, I want to come all the time, so let me find a job at the track. I went from snack shack to scoring tower. I can hand score like nobody's business. And then I ended up scoring for IKF Region 11, done several IKF Grand Nationals. So you've probably seen me in registration somewhere, or
Where's your wristband?
Yeah, I've seen your name on a screen. So I know a lot of people from a screen, but now seeing their faces and stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, you're that guy, number, 77 or something like that. So it's really cool. And then I started working with Jason last year in Sonoma, and now I'm here producing the show.
oh come on! What about the fact that you were such a fan of your cousin that you married his mechanic?
Okay.
Wow.
I forgot that whole part, but I went to Prairie City one time and I met a boy there, and then I married him, Josh Bellows, shout out.
Don't bring your daughters to the track is the moral of that story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, we're definitely a karting family here. We called our here we go, look right here.
Sorry, I wasn't supposed to touch.
So we called our little girl Little Driver for the longest time. So we're gonna be kid kart parents in 3 years.
Uh-oh. All right, so that was Ashley. Now Ryan Martin,
Yeah.
how did you get started in karting?
So I guess for me, it was more my dad. Like, my parents are from South Africa originally, and they grew up, didn't have any money, and my dad saw it on TV and wanted to do it. But as a kid, they didn't have the money to do it. So I rolled around, 9 years old, about to be 10th birthday. We went on a family vacation, and there happened to be like a rental go-kart place there. And I hopped in a go-kart and had a knack for it, and we had a good time doing it. And 2 weeks later, my 10th birthday, the first go-kart got delivered. And from there, that year I got my go-kart end of September, and the season ended. I did the last race of the year, and then luckily that year it didn't really snow until kind of later in November. So we were out of the track every weekend, just burning laps until I couldn't feel my fingers anymore, kind of deal. Back in, was it junior 2 4-stroke? So we ran the Hondas, which is now what Briggs is, and then just slowly kept working at it and working up the ranks, And then I think my first race in the States was 2013 Tucson Challenge of the Americas. And I think that's when I met like Andy, and I think I might have met Ryan around the same time too, because we had the help from like Ryan Perry and Joey Guion. And then from there, been going back and forth, and that's kind of my quick rundown of how I got into karting.
So are you Canadian or South African?
I'm Canadian, but my parents and my family, the rest of my family's from South Africa, basically.
Got it. So you could
yeah.
almost have like a triple nationality or citizenship here.
I'm close to that, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So it's been a pretty cool opportunity, at a young age to go travel. I was 15 years old getting put on a plane by myself, and I wanted to do it. I mean, my parents were okay with it. It was funny how it worked was I'd go to my parents 15 years old, already had everything lined up, like ready to book, already talked to the race teams, already got the budget set. And I was like, hey, I want to go do this race. Like, what do I got to do to do it? And, at the time I was in school 2 days a week, pretty much. The rest of the week I was on the road to races, and, they gave me a good opportunity to go travel and meet amazing people. And I was lucky to come back down here a couple years ago and, continue that track and keep growing as a person, as a driver, and meeting great people.
Yeah, no, you've definitely put in a lot of work over the past, I'm going to say year and a half that I've got to know you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you put a lot of miles in there.
Yeah, I know. I'm very lucky. I honestly, like during the regular race season, I'm lucky I get to drive almost 3 days a week some week, which is a very cool tool to be able to do. And, it's especially cool working for Ron because, some days it's me just practicing by myself, or some days we're doing product development on the engines, the go-karts. And then there's a lot of days where I'm either coaching our tag drivers, or we do like a Arrive and Drive program where we're getting new people into karting and, teach them how to drive a go-kart, how to be safe. And, seeing the reward of their enjoyment is very rewarding and humbling, and makes you realize, like, some days we leave the track ready to throw a wrench through a wall, but, you see that and it makes you realize what you love about the sport,
So actually, hey, Andy, can we go down the rabbit hole and wrap the show up with that one, the rabbit hole of spec and the effort that people still need to put into it?
Wrap the show up. We've only been on for 55 minutes. We got like 2 more hours.
I know, but Ashley's going to just hit the end button.
First of all,
it's a timing and scoring trait.
timing and scoring. End of race.
Click on private chat. She sent you a picture of tic-tac-toe, by the way.
Oh, that's right. Did you find tic-tac-toe?
Yes, she did.
I sent it to you.
I do want to touch on something like that both of these guys do differently, right? And as opposed to like what the mainstream team thing is in karting, and it's all about finding your space, right? So, like I said, Ryan Ruth does a lot of dirt stuff and micro sprints and all the other stuff he does, but focuses hard on his local program. Talks about renting the track and doing his practice days. I mean, Ryan Martin talks about how Ron White does these Arrive and Drive programs with 15 and 20 guys trying to get into the sport, and does the Challenge of the Americas, but doesn't travel crisscross across the country, and he's doing real well. And then you have other guys that that find their success and have to travel 2,000 miles to a race when there's races 20 minutes or 3 hours away from home. It's just interesting in all those dynamics and how people find success in different spots, right? And look, to be fair, we all love the sport, and it's all economic. We're all chasing what's going to pay the bills for our families, but it doesn't always have to be. You have to race to a race in Mooresville, or you have to go to Florida for 3 months. You got to go here. I mean, Ron White and his team with Ryan there. I mean, aside from coming to the challenge in Tucson and Phoenix, literally doesn't leave a 2-hour radius from his house for months at a time.
It's nice.
right, Ryan? And
Yeah,
it's,
no, you're 100%
you know,
right. It
and
is
Ryan
nice.
Ruth, right? I mean, it's great, right? And then you see other guys that just, you know, it's miles and miles and miles on their trucks and trailers, always being at the next thing, and then wonder why their local program, why they can't get local customers. And it's like, man, you gotta strike that balance somewhere, because otherwise, like, that pipeline dries up. You can't take a brand new guy and go, great, we're gonna go national racing in Utah, and you just got in a go kart last Thursday. Like, you gotta cultivate that stuff, you know.
Sorry, I'm only
or you
smiling
can just
'cause I
go
hear a
steal
tumbler
other
in the
people's
background.
customers.
Well, I know that's what I was saying to Ron. I'm like, our focus for this year is to keep growing our national program, whether it's through the Rock or other type of series, to keep growing that. Because for us, we go to these winter races and we have like 5 or 7 really fast, amazing guys. But then we show up to Sonoma for a club race. We have 20 to 25 customers. So our goal for this year is to keep growing and get more people to the level where they can compete and be happy and go perform at these winter races or California Rock, you know?
But I'm gonna talk about the challenge in the CRC for sure. That, like, the challenge at the front end of the field is competitive as any race on this continent. I mean, you know, the top 5 are the top 5, whether you're racing Pro Tour, Winter Tour, Challenge. I mean, the top 5 guys are the top 5 guys, right? I think the one strength, or one of the strengths that we have, is we really welcome everybody. And so that's why we see there's a lot of different levels of people that come to Challenge. You know, Ryan Ruth for sure has experiences from the guys that he's brought that have just come out of club racing, and you know, and then they're going to show up at Tucson, or going to show up at Sonoma or Phoenix. You know, it's like we try to make sure that people aren't overwhelmed. I mean, we understand that you come out of club racing and you come to a national event, whatever that means anymore, and they're a little overwhelmed about, you know, either the structure or the hype. In the end, it's just a bunch of carts going around the track. So I think my staff and myself do a really good job of wrapping our arms around the newer people and saying, hey, man, there's a spot for you here. And yeah, you may be running 20th, you may not be running 3rd, but this is a place where you can get better, and you're not going to be overwhelmed. You're not going to be treated like garbage. You're not going to be looked down upon. Just come and race with us, because there's a spot for you. And I think I'm going to pat myself on the back. I think we've done a really good job at that over the past 15 years.
I got to say this for Andy, like, his staff and the people that work and take care of everything are second to none. They are really great. Everybody, you know, from the person that signs us in to the person in tech to the, you know, to the flag people, everybody is just amazing. That's really what draws me and bringing my team to the Challenge of Americas every year. Is everything fits. I can bring new people that have never seen an event like that, and then you can bring the most talented karter there and still be challenged, and great prizes. And then you know, so great prizes, great track, great staff. It's a win-win.
Thanks, Ryan.
You know, I really think Ryan hit the nail on the head with that one. For me, a returning customer year after year, I think I've only, since I started the series in 2013, I think I've only missed a few years, but it's great to come back to the series because, like you said, the staff's awesome, the prizes, the awards, it's just a great event. You know, it's kind of it's a national event, they call it, but it's a very laid back event, which is very inviting for people. And to touch back on what Andy said, I always try to stress this to newer people or people that are trying to make that step to national events. Go do that race in Tucson, Phoenix, or Sonoma, wherever it is, because you're going to go do that race, and it doesn't matter where you finish or how you do, but as soon as you go back to your home track, you're going to do way better. You know, and you like take things you learned there and you take it back to your home track, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember last year Andy and I were doing a podcast. I called him a regional series. And that was the reaction. And it actually, I had to think about it, because in my head, I'm thinking geography. You have the West Coast, you know, Andy goes from, you know, Tucson, Phoenix up to Sonoma. That's a West Coast thing. In my head is regional. And he goes, dude, we have people from all over the country that come here. We have people out of Canada. And it's like, well, I guess technically it's international. If Ryan Martin is racing, it's international.
1 year our DD2 champion, although he's, you know, by Lewis Hamilton fans, he's probably not well loved, but Nicholas Latifi was our DD2 champ one year. So I mean, there's been plenty of very, very, very good try. I mean,
Yeah.
the who's who of American drivers: Alan Rudolph, Ron White. I mean, Alan Shuto. I mean, Louis Pagano. The Choker family. I mean, the guys that are Parker Thompson, Christian Brooks. I mean, just the guys that the whole Rollison crew. I mean, the guys that we've had run with us, and gals. Sorry, actually, they're second to none. Like I said, the top 5 is the top 5. I mean, like the top 5 can compete anywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember one of the last years in Rotex was like 14 or 15, and in our 30 kart senior Rotex field, like 12 of them had been to the World Finals. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
Right.
but I
Remember
think it's a testament to the environment that you create in the pits, where you go to like you did earlier, the national events. You go there and it's like they're stuffy, it's irritable. It's like as soon as you get through the gate, it's uptight, and then you kind of roll into one of your events and it's like, you got Erik doing his customer support, right? And it's like you're kind of roaming around doing your thing, and it's not in a bad way calling it a regional type thing, because it's almost flattery where it's like, wait, you bring the best talent around and you make them comfortable. And so I kind of labeled it regional for that reason. It's like when you go up the hierarchy, right? You have club racing. Club racing, you show up, you have fun with your friends, you do a little barbecue, you hang out with everybody. What tire pressures are you running? Oh, I'm running 16 pounds, blah, 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 right? And don't use that pressure, by the way. Like you throw it around at club racing. What's that?
You on YBNs?
YBNs, yeah. YDS.
It's 26 pounds.
Yeah, 1999. That YD, yeah. But it's like, that's club racing. It's like everyone's having a good time. They're trying to help everybody. You get to regional and people start hiding their air gauges. You get to nationals, don't walk in a tent. Then you show up to your stuff and it's like, the teams are still very, very serious. They still have an objective. But afterwards, it's like, it's a big community.
Yeah, I think, and hold on, Tony Siragusa, no, I'm not in bed. I'm on a Tucson in the back sunroom behind the house, so I'm not in bed. I think in some respects that the promoter or the organizer creates the atmosphere in a way, right? I mean, I don't like drama. I'm not a drama guy, right? Some people like drama. Some people thrive on drama, and I don't know if the hype or the drama makes their blood churn better. It just doesn't for me. So I think there's enough drama on the racetrack that I don't need to create drama in the paddock. So in the paddock, I want to be chill, right? I want everybody to have a good time. I want there to be music playing. I want people to be grilling hot dogs. I want if you got a beer in your cooler, as long as it's after you're done racing, you're welcome to have a beer. You know what I mean? That's just the way I am. I just don't want drama on that side of the fence. There's plenty on the other side of the fence. So some people get to these events, and the minute they get there, the guy that's parking them starts yelling at them that they took 2 feet too much, or they got your time to pick up your tires is from 11 to 11:06, and if you get there at 11:07, you're fined or you lose your qualifying lap. It's just too much. We spend so much money, or our customers spend so much money and so much time doing this. They don't need me or my staff yelling at them. They just don't, right? Now we're gonna slap you on the wrist if you screw up on the track. We're gonna penalize you if you break the rules. But I don't need unnecessary drama that's created by me or the people that work for me. It's just not worth it. So that's the bottom line. I mean, I built the series how I want it to be. I was a okay racer for a long time. And, I built the series how I would appreciate it if I was a racer. And I think that the formula works pretty well. I mean, that's my own ego yapping there. But seriously, it's just that's the way I want it to be. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. That's the way I want it to be.
So I was listening to everything you said, but I kind of zoned out.
It's okay. I'm not in bed. Yeah, I'm not in bed.
when I have control of the keyboard and the mouse and my ADD kicks in, I apologize. Not
Ashley,
really.
get a hold of him, please.
Yeah. So earlier we were asking about tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Yeah, where's that
here.
picture?
Tic-tac-toe?
Go, Jason.
Ashley.
Go,
Yeah, here we go,
Jason.
Jason. It's Jason. Here we go, Jason. Go.
Here we go, Jason.
There you go, Ryan.
Yep.
Oh,
There
wow.
we go.
It looks like
So you're going to be, if you're doing the normal layout clockwise, you're coming down this direction. Oh, you can't see my mouse, can you?
mm-mm.
Oh,
No.
that's probably a good thing. Otherwise, people would have seizures if they followed my mouse around.
Guess you'd
So
say
coming
you're
down the
coming
hill,
towards the
upper
camera.
left-hand corner, that's the new tic-tac-toe. I personally, when they did the barrier test,
Mhm.
I know some people are like, it's like the barrier. It's like, well, granted, it's just a test. But looking at it, it's like, I liked it. Because I don't know how many carts get just destroyed every year from the previous tic-tac-toe. Because if you hit it properly, and Ryan can attest to this, if you hit it properly, it's not bad.
Yes.
You hit it wrong, and it's like, Jesus Christ, who put a curb in the track?
Well, I remember especially in the tag stuff too, because you hit it wrong, your chain's coming off. You know, it's happened to me. It's happened to many people. So this, I think, being a little bit flatter will definitely fix that problem, especially with making chassis last longer too. You know, first lap, I think will be interesting. I don't know exactly what they're gonna do with barriers or tires or something to kind of prevent people from going to the dirt, or I'm not sure. I've kind of heard different stories from different people, so I guess we'll see when we get there what they end up doing.
Perfect. I need to have Ashley
Looks
create a
great.
banner real quick for Anthony Saragusa. It says Formula Works. Say we should put your name here for Formula Works.
No, that works. You spelled his own business.
Okay, Anthony, you owe us a check now. That's how sponsorship works. You owe us a check.
All right, let's go ahead and get into final thoughts, and then Jason's gonna close the show.
Oh, you really do want to end this?
Andy's like, man, I should put the velvet sheets on. My butt's already fallen asleep from the squeaky chair. I can't wait till the email I get tomorrow from Ashley.
I mean, I
I
literally
told you to fix that chair.
I brought backup. You know,
Actually, let's do one more question. Let's do.
Okay.
Let's keep this rolling. Any opinions on electrification of carts in racing? We could probably have so many different angles.
ask
Andy as a race promoter.
Ryan Ruth. He just got back from the Vortex World Finals where he witnessed the electric carts himself.
Yeah, I was gonna go there. Yeah, so you have race promoter, you have Ryan Ruth. So
watching the electric carts, crazy fast, and I didn't see any problems with them, but as far as the Rotax ones, look like they were pretty much still a ways away from being ready to release to the public. They're real heavy, and
Yes.
they have a lot of cooling parts. I'm assuming to keep the motors or the batteries cool. But as far as speed and how they looked on the racetrack, pretty badass. But I mean, I don't live in California. We still ride motorcycles out here in the desert, 2 strokes.
Oh, I forgot to
So-
ask you to wear your face masks. I'm sorry.
Good luck on that. So I'm not big on it. I did watch the electric carts there at Sonoma that they had there for a couple.
Oh, the
I don't
rattlesnake
know.
guys.
I don't know if they're
Yeah,
still doing
rattlesnake,
that.
Richard
but
Hillman.
that was pretty cool, and I liked how they had it set up to where the guys had to go kind of slow to save their battery for the end. And then all of a sudden the guys that were leading at the end would just get blown by because their batteries were dying. That was pretty wild. But these cars at the World Finals were, unbelievably fast the whole time. Obviously, they had to have 4-wheel disc brakes because they weigh so much. It's kind of weird when they're on the racetrack because all you hear is the curbs and the tire squeal, no engines.
Yes.
But I mean, I guess
me, it's
I guess
Sonoma.
as an opinion, I want to keep gas engines going. But
Well, we could put a stereo on it and pump sound through the stereo of engine sounds. No, but when you talk about the sound, that was the first thing I was thinking of at Sonoma when Richard and Mamo Gidley were working on the rattlesnake project. And it's like, electric, whatever. It's a fad. I'm being in California, we see Teslas everywhere. So I guess it really wasn't a fad. But the sound going on the straightaway, it's just like that weird low hum. And then when they pass you, you realize they're flying. They're going very fast. Yeah, but there's just not a lot of noise to them. And like you said, battery management. So I think that's anything, right? With anything electrified is battery. It's
the technology gets so much better by the week, I bet.
Yeah.
So, battery size and length and power.
I think someone could probably correct me here. Wasn't the first car electric powered?
Probably steam.
I mean, it's been around for a long time. Like,
I mean, I think I've heard that too.
It's been at least 100 years, and then now here we are revisiting it. But,
I mean, electric power is not revolutionary. It's making it small enough, light enough, efficient enough, right? All the things that Ryan.
Yeah.
And to Ryan's point, there's going to be right now they're obscenely heavy. The charge doesn't last long enough, and those things over time will get sorted out. I mean, look at an iPhone compared to what a phone was just 15 years ago, right? I mean, just the advancements in that technology. But what happens is as that stuff happens, they're not gonna be able to make it as light as a current cart, which means they're gonna have to change it. In my opinion, if they're gonna to make a cart work properly, they're gonna have to change what a go-kart is, because there's not enough geometry in the front end to make it turn properly. There's not enough flex in the frame to make it work properly. So I think they're gonna, if they go to a heavy battery operated cart, they may have to add some level of suspension to it. Then it ceases to become a cart. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but why don't they just make a seat battery? Problem solved.
A what?
A seat battery.
Seat battery?
A seat out of batteries.
Oh.
Great idea.
Just be getting the good California stuff.
Andy doesn't even know where to go with that. He's like, I got nothing. All right. So we're getting in. If we don't have any more questions coming in.
What did you ask me about spec racing before?
Oh, I was getting into spec racing. So Ryan made the comment about, doing a lot of testing on the track. And I personally, many of you know my background with Sweet Tech Racing engines. So I come at it from a different viewpoint when it comes to spec racing. To me, it's still effort. You got to put the effort in if you want to be quick. And I feel a lot of marketing or promotion or the new guy coming in, spec racing is stock, meaning exactly out of the box, put it on the cart, stock. Like, and then you need to know how, you don't need to put any effort into it. And so it's kind of one of my questions I was asking, because I wanted to kind of put you guys on the spot. And that's why I asked you first, Andy, about, well, do you want to go down this rabbit hole?
I mean, spec racing's here to stay in karting. And to be fair, since probably the early 80s, karting's been spec. The open classes went the way of the dodo. Probably about when Ryan and I started racing, right? You base Ryan Ruth, not Ryan Martin. You would see an open class as like, oh, that's where all the old wacky guys were, and then eventually kind of they just vanished, right?
Correct.
And I think spec was created for a variety of reasons. One is it tells the consumer you don't have to be a technological genius to make your own ports in the engine, to be a clutch genius, to be a pipe genius, all the stuff where a lot of the old timers, 70s and 80s, they would win races in their garages because of their knowledge, because of the stuff, the Burrises, the Haddocks, the Pruitts of the world, right? The guys that we all know or have known. It gives the consumer, and I don't want to say a false hope, but it gives the racer a hope that, hey, look, if it's spec, I can compete. In the end, there's only two rules that rules makers can't make. I think I've discussed this with you, Jason, before. How much money you spend or how hard you work, right? So if you can't do one, you better damn well do the other. And the guys that are hard to beat are the ones that do both. The guys that spend the money and work their ass off, right? And we see it every weekend at the track. The guys that spend money and work their ass off, they're the guys at the front. But you can't make rules to say, hey, you can only work Thursdays from 2 to 6 and Saturdays from 1 to 4. And you can't make a rule that says, you can only spend $1,400 a year on karting, right? It's not practical. Now, spec,
you can't enforce it.
Sort of does that, but in the end, you know what spec really does, and this is the bad part of spec, is it changes where the money is spent. The guys are still gonna, if a guy has a $100,000 budget, back in the day, he would make his own stuff to get an advantage. Now he just tests 100 $4 parts to gain his advantage. You know what I mean? Like it just changed where the money is spent. Or buys 100 sets of tires and goes spends his days with Ryan and practices, right? And finds those times, which I think is the best way. But we all know if you told a guy he could spend $3,000 on 20 sets of tires to go to the track for 10 weekends and get better, or you can say, hey, for $3,000 you could bolt on this missile. He's going to go, give me the missile. I'll just do that, right?
Yeah.
So it's a different. The rabbit hole of spec is a unique conversation, but it's here to stay. It's not going away. So you just have to figure out a way to deal with it. And by and large, the market has found a way to deal with it, right? The teams have found a way to deal with it. That's why Cal Speed every Wednesday is packed with Nash and Ryan Perry and Phil Giebler and Tony from Formula Works, right? Because they recognize that the customers need to get out in their karts as many days as possible, burn tires, burn fuel, and practice. And then go bolt that bullet on Sunday and go race. I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah.
You realize karting's a motorsport. Motor's still the first word.
That's true.
Karting has changed so much since I was a kid. When I was a kid and started, the other drivers around you, I would say most of them, their dad was a mechanic or was some kind of gearhead that would, whether it be a car mechanic or I don't know, he worked on air conditioning or some kind of gearhead. That's who you were racing against, and that's who built go-karts and went to the racetrack because they'd build them in their garage or put them together or mail order or whatever they were doing. Nowadays, it's more like Little League. It's not bad or good. It's just how it is. It's why, and it actually allows guys like me to have a business, and there's a lot of guys like me that do the same thing I do. So it's just different than what it used to be. So, the sport evolves. Motorsports altogether has done that. You get a lot more people that, hey, I want my kid to be the next racer, and they'll just spend the money or pay a team to go do it. And it's not like it used to be.
Yeah, that's true too.
It's not good or bad. It just is. I mean, the market has changed.
Yeah, it's different.
The market has changed, and the people.
It's good in some ways. It's amazing.
You've adapted to it. You know what I mean? It's like the businesses adapted. I look back and over the years, say the past 15 years, when karting was, like you said, Ryan, right? It was. Think about the business your dad had, IRS, and you'd get 200 people come in there Monday through Friday and buy spark plugs and chains and tires, and your dad made enough money that he'd go to the track on the weekend and just wander and help people for nothing. And then, the internet happened, and then the 08 crash happened. So we lost a lot of the karting middle class, what I call them, right? And then, the internet caused people to go, oh, okay, I can buy those brake pads for $3 cheaper over here, right? Which those guys made a business out of it. Good for them. And so those customers then went that way. We lost the middle class. So all that was left was some of the higher dollar customers. So then the businesses said, well, if we want to survive, we're going to then try to capture this market. And then the arrive and drive catered lunch tent data, and holy cow, the amount of technology and expertise in those pits now is unbelievable. Yours and Ryan Martin's and Rollison's and Nash and those guys, Ryan Terry. It's like Zaragoza. It's like, holy cow, like they're professional race teams at this point, which you never saw 15 years ago, right? But it's somebody's fault. I mean, you talk to the old timers like, oh, you guys ruined the sport. You didn't ruin the sport. Like the market spoke and you responded, or you were going to go work somewhere else. And let's be fair, I'm not insulting us. Those of us in the sport, we're not astrophysicists. Like we're not going and creating the new iPhone. I mean, we're going to be swinging
Playing
hammers
with
or running
go-kart.
restaurants. We're regular dudes, or working on somebody's car, or running air conditioning line sets. I mean, that's what we do, right? So instead, we're doing go-karting businesses, and we responded to the market. That's what happened.
Spot on.
So, Ryan Martin, you want to add anything to the spec stuff as a driver?
I think. I mean, my whole life, my racing's pretty much been spec stuff. I've never really been part of the open stuff. I mean, my first real open race was a couple of weeks ago in Vegas in KZ, so I can't really comment too much on what the open stuff is like. But definitely with the spec stuff, I do like how, and this is where Rok has done a great job, where you can pretty much pull something out the box and make a few changes very quickly, whether it's a shifter or whatever, and be just fast. Like I know Ron, we move so much stuff, but it's like we'll pull a shifter. Like he'll go grab a shifter out of a box, put his setup on it, and I'll go race it, and it'll be front row. That's the cool thing about the spec racing, I think, and I think that's what Rok's done a really good job with lately, is having a product like that that's consistent. Like I said, I haven't really done the open stuff much, so I can't really comment on that too much.
So do you think as a racer, being the engines, pulling it out of the box, using someone reputable to set it up the first time, getting it on the cart as a driver, and again, you have multiple different aspects from karting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel, okay, now I really need to focus on my driving, I need to focus on my chassis?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, like you said, like for me, I was lucky. My first go-kart was someone raced it the weekend before and won, and then I bought it from them and jumped in it and drove it. But if you're coming into the sport and you don't know much about it, I would definitely recommend, like you said, going to like a reputable team, whether it's Ron or Ryan or Andy at FTK, and having them at least get your stuff set up and built properly, And then it's going to, one, be safe to go drive, and two, you're not going to spend a lot of time chasing problems. And then from there, I would say just keep driving and getting seat time. But this is the one thing I see now, and I think, and maybe I'm wrong or from the area I grew up in, but where I grew up in, there wasn't a lot of like driver coaching or like teams, big teams, because it was a small club. So it took a little bit longer, I think, to get up to speed. Whereas you see now there's a lot of guys like Ryan, like us with Ron, and just teams all over the place that can offer those driving coaches services and like speed up the learning process. So definitely, I think if you're new, maybe make a little bit of the investment of like, hey, getting them the go-kart set up and maybe doing a day or two with you, I think the driver coaching, especially up front, will go a long way in the process of speeding up the basically learning.
Good stuff there. Good stuff.
Jason, you mind if I talk about CRC for a second?
California Rock Championship going to Pat's Acres. I'm sorry, did I hijack that?
No, we got to get Ryan Ruth to make that trip. He loves to go to Pat's Acres.
I love Pat's Acres.
Yes.
But I'm not going that far. It's 25 hours.
But have you been there recently?
Maybe I'll fly in.
But have you been there recently? Ryan Ruth.
I have not been.
You need to go
since they repaved, but I heard it's just crazy fast and
we shattered
more physical than it was, which is crazy.
They shattered every track record by over a second last year.
And
who's that?
I have a
what?
Who shattered the records? I missed that part.
Every class did, but
every class.
I think it was Wick in the shifter class shattered the all-time track record by over a second last year.
Yeah,
in his rock. Right, and there was
spec rock shifter.
Pro Tour races there, open shifter, open tires, yada yada. I mean, for years ago, right? So, but on our spec rock shifter with Levanto tires and the new pavement, it was ridiculous how fast that place was.
So, Andy or Ruthless? This is for one of you. Is open like Top Fuel version of karting? Knob question.
Noob.
Noob.
Knob.
Noob.
Med knob.
Oh,
You know,
like the fact that they blow up more than
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Ticking time bomb.
Yeah, taking time bomb. I mean, guys would have to have 4 engines in the trailer just to get through the day, but when they ran, they were unbelievable, right? I mean, guys were in the old days. Guys would McCulloch. I mean, I'm going way back now to the early '70s, but McCulloch, they would buy blank cylinders for McCulloch and then make their own ports, carve their own ports and their own head shapes out of them, right? So it was like science fiction and voodoo all at the same time, right? But guys were experimenting. I mean, I still remember. I mean, I'm talking about the mid to late '90s. Well, you know who Ryan Charteau is, right? He races at Irwindale. So his dad, Ron Charteau, is a longtime career karter. Ron Charteau was sponsored by L&T clutches, and when he'd show up to IKF races, he would pull off his regular L&T clutch and bolt on one with titanium backing plates that was like 3/10 faster than any clutch, but it would literally only last the day, right? But it wasn't illegal, but that was still sort of spec racing, but it was on the edge of spec. And now you take that and you go to pipes and carburetors and engines and everything else. It just multiplies. It makes it exponential, right? The amount of
Funny thing about that.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Funny thing about that, Andy, is right, like L&T clutches was top fuel clutches.
Yeah, they were top
right?
fuel.
Tony Maglisi was the guy and was making the slider clutches for all the top fuel drag cars.
Yep, for the Pedregons and Selzy and all those guys.
Yep.
Right?
Oh. What a cool guy to go to dinner with.
Oh, he's amazing.
He orders his dessert first.
Yeah, because he said he didn't know if he was going to last through dinner, so he must have
Crazy guy. I got some of those good clutches too. It was rad. It was worth it.
It was incredible, right? It was just a different time.
Yeah, Yamaha, it would hit and the front wheels would come off the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You think about the clutches now, Jason, where the clutch, and Ryan, where the clutch in a tag locks up at 2,200 RPM to get you off the grid. You didn't set your Yamaha clutch to lock up to like 9,600 RPM to really engage. So,
yeah. Now that you say that, I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Right.
like you don't adjust clutches anymore. It's just like that's it.
And you'd be like, you tweak them a little bit to move the stall speed up 200, but then
every flat was 200.
But then you'd shorten the flex so it would scream higher on the top end. Like you were always, it was always the clutch versus the flex game with your pipe and your clutch, right? And I think that kind of started the spec revolution because guys didn't have the patience for that. They didn't want to spend time in the garage, and
they weren't gearheads.
Yeah, I always tell people when people ask me about do you like having a karting business? I say, when I started my business, what the one thing I missed was going out in the garage on a Friday night and turning a 30-minute project into a 4-hour project.
Yeah.
And I said that properly, right? Turning the radio on with a 6-pack of beer and something that should literally take 30 minutes, and it took me 4 hours just tinkering and working on it and massaging it and having, right? Those are some of my favorite memories of karting. It's not even the racing. It's spending time in the garage. And I'm sure Ruth's early memories, he has good memories like that. Nowadays, probably not so much because it's your business. But back in the day when it was your own stuff, it was amazing.
I spent a lot of time with this guy in the garage.
Yeah, get a haircut.
You're live from your son's studio?
Oh, yeah. He just showed up. He's been hanging out somewhere.
But Jason, CRC. I want to talk about that for a quick second. When challenge is over, we take April off, and we're going to transition to CRC, California Rock Championship, and we've tried a few different formats. We've tried just simply one-day events. We've tried combining with Sonoma. So this year we're going to try our last iteration. We're going to match the challenge. We're going to run 3 events. Double final weekend. It's gonna be exactly the challenge format. We're gonna do 3 tracks. We're gonna Cal Speed, Pat's Acres, and Sonoma, right? So 2 of our traditional tracks and 1 more we added last year, which is an unbelievable, facility in the Pacific Northwest. I think it's going to be our biggest year ever. I'm convinced. 2 of the months there's no national racing, no conflicts at all. Like in May and August, there's no Pro Tour, no USPKS, there's no nothing, right? So that's a great conflict-free. I think in June we have a little conflict in Southern California, but I don't worry about that stuff anymore. But otherwise, it doesn't conflict with Rock Sonoma. It doesn't conflict with the Pro Tour. It doesn't conflict with USPKS. It doesn't conflict with Tri-C. It doesn't conflict with LAKC. It conflicts with nothing. And we're working on, it's no secret to people that the 125 tag stuff is waning on the West Coast. I mean, you look at the club stuff, and junior and senior 125 tag is struggling right now. The 100cc stuff has really, really kind of supplanted it, and the shifter stuff, our Rock shifter program is so strong. So I'm working with Rock to develop a junior header for the Rock shifter to try to introduce junior shifter for the CRC for the summer. I think there's a potential there for the faster junior racers that want to move out of the 100cc, aren't quite ready for the full-blown shifter. The GP or the X30 isn't interesting enough. But if we try to rebuild that junior shifter program, we can kind of get that pipeline built again. So I don't know if it's going to succeed. I hope it is, but I'm going to work on that and get some headers in the pipeline and a rule set to see if we can put it together by the time we get rolling here in May for the CRC. That's not for COTA, but that's my CRC project.
CRC. So explain to the new people that are just kind of chiming in or not familiar with what you do. Why is there a difference between Challenge of the Americas COTA and California Rock Championship?
As I said 15 years ago, COTA started as a mirror program to what goes on in Florida. I mean, obviously, all the quote-unquote national programs don't start up till April or May. So there was always that nice dead spot in the winter when people used to relax. But now we got to make sure they keep racing. So, we created the program, and it was always built around, in the past, Rotax and now Rock. But it was always over by the time we got to April 1st. Prizes to the World Championships in either respect, or to now, Rock Vegas for some of our other classes. So, that's over then. And then if people want to bolt on other stuff or go race their clubs or whatever, they have time to do that. A few years ago, people asked, why don't we have any kind of better than club racing for Rock on the West Coast during the summer? So that's when I started CRC a few years ago. Did Jason go away, or did he just?
Yeah, he's gonna be gone for about a minute. But how did you? So in creating these 2 series, how did you pick which tracks you wanted to go to for which one?
I'm sorry, you faded on me. Which what?
How did you decide which tracks to go to for like California Rock versus COTA?
Oh, I got you. Well, with COTA, like I said, during the time of year, I mean, we have to be done by April 1st, right?
Yeah.
So we can't go to Pat's Acres. We can't go to a Grand Junction. We can't. I mean, there's only a few that we can go to, right? Which is the 4 we talked about: Tucson, Phoenix, Cal Speed, Sonoma. Right? Buttonwillow, fun to race on, but 1 hotel. Closest airport's 2 hours away. There's 1 barbecue place in a Subway that's anywhere near there. You know what I mean? It's just right. Willow's Willow. I mean, some of the other places. I mean, I had looked at a couple of years ago for CRC. I took a trip. I went up to Reno. I stopped by Prairie City as other places that we could possibly go. But we just kind of stayed with our traditional partners. Sonoma, as I said, has been a long-time partner. Cal Speed, long-time partner. In the summer months, sorry, Ryan Ruth, but I try to stay away from Phoenix and Tucson when it's 130 degrees.
Freaking oven. Hey, you came that one year.
I did. We came at night. That was post-COVID. That was right after the COVID shutdowns kind of opened up a little bit, right? And then last year, there's a track that we had forgotten about on the West Coast for so long, Pat's Acres. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? In the summer, it's 80 degrees up there. It's not 130.
Yeah.
Right. And the cool thing, I mean, you can camp at the track. It's light out till 9:30 at night in the summer. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's right next to the river. So I just wanted to go back to stuff like that. Once again, as I talked about the attitude or the atmosphere that the promoter or the event creates, that goes back to what I love about the sport, right? And we went to Pat's Acres, and I don't think either Ryan was there this past year. Were you guys?
No.
Were you?
Nope.
No.
There were literally 30 people camping in the paddock. Like the most I had seen camp at the racetrack in years, right? I mean, because we normally get a dozen at a challenge race, right? Because people losing this whole thing right here. Ashley, you better get a control of this. This is holy cow.
All right. Well, we do have a question. We do have a question from Ryan Martin that just came in.
Put another quarter in the meter.
Let's switch Andy out. Okay, so Desmond Martin, question for Ryan Martin. How many dollars did your karting career cost your parents?
So for most of you who don't know, that's my father in Canada, and I want to say we definitely hit the 6 digits, not the 7 like some people, but we spent a lot of money, but we had a lot of good times with it, and we bonded together. And I think that's the cool thing about karting is it's not like you're just dropping your kid off at baseball practice and you see him later. You spend the weekend together. Like Andy was saying in Pat's Acres there's a lot of camping. The track I go up from, same thing. You're an hour out the city. Everyone's out there camping in trailers all week. They have full RV hookups, showers, and we spent a lot of money, but we had a lot of good times together for sure.
Shout out mom and dad Martin.
Spending time with your kids karting, priceless.
I was gonna say you were sponsored when the mom asked. Oh, he's sponsored.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I'm sponsored now, but back then, I had a job and I was racing, doing everything I could. So,
well, let's talk. I was going to ask you that earlier, and let's talk about that. So, I put in your header earlier, factory pilot, but
yes.
It looks like with the comments and stuff coming in, we have a number of families or dads or asking questions and tuning in. Talk to being a factory pilot. I'll preface it by, it wasn't that you were fast as Sonoma and Ron White walked up to you and said, dude, I'm going to pay you $100,000 a year. You're going to drive my CRG. You're going to run my engines. You're going to go out there. Explain to them what the factory pilot really is from a karting standpoint.
I don't think a lot of people realize, especially when you look at Europe and you see those factory drivers, a lot of those guys, and I'm in the same boat as them. Yeah, you see us racing on the weekend and we're a factory driver, but you don't see the fact that we're at the shop Monday to Friday building go-karts, unloading the trailer, cleaning go-karts, cleaning the trailer, loading it up, mountain tires, we're doing whatever needs to get done. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a big thing I've learned in the last couple of years, especially trying to raise sponsorship money, is at the end of the day, if someone like Ron is going to come to me and help me in my program, he's going to want to see some kind of return. So when you're a driver looking to get, whether it's a sponsorship from a team or a manufacturer or anything, you got to be able to go to them and be like, this is what I can do for you. So in my example, I've worked at Ron's shop now for the last couple of years. We've been there many weeks from 6 a.m. till midnight cranking out work, so then for me there, I'm able to, bill hours at the shop. I'm making him money, where now he can go do his thing, where it's ordering parts, working on engines. And then on the track side of things too, it's awesome because it's like when I can go and if I do well or I win a race, that helps him promote the product because people want a winning product. So when people see that the product's winning, they're going to buy the product. So for me as a job as a factory driver, it's not only just to go race on the weekend and win, but it's also the rest of the other 5 or 4 or 7 days of the week at the shop putting hours in. I don't think a lot of people see that.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's that clarification where, I'm going to be a sponsored driver. From your experience out there, and then do we lose Andy again? I think we lost him. We got him.
I was on my phone and then my computer hooked back up. crazy.
Oh, got it. Okay. So we're in the middle of talking to Ryan Martin about factory driver. And I don't want to demean the word factory, but I want to make it very clear, how hard Ryan is working behind the scenes. And I think, Ryan Ruth can talk to this. Andy, you can speak to this. As far as a factory driver, it's how many can you think of out there right now? If you were to look at it, if they don't either own a shop or work for a shop like Ryan Martin does, how many factory drivers do you think are out there in karting right now? Specifically sprint kart. Would you say 2 or 3? 5?
Who are you talking to? Who do you want to answer first?
Anybody.
Are we talking in U.S., in the United States?
Specifically in the U.S., yeah.
Whew. I mean, there's a few.
Would you say it would be less than 5?
Yeah, I think Norberg's the only one that could come to my head, maybe.
Okay, I was thinking Norberg. I was thinking Formal.
There's a few out there, but
I guess, yeah.
How many people are making a living doing it? It's pretty rough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm not asking this question to deter anyone from trying to pursue it, but I want them to understand if you're young or if you're new into karting, there's a lot of effort you need to put in to get to a point where someone's even going to pay attention to you. And that's why I love talking to Gary Carlton, because as many of you know, it's well documented. He lived in the kart factory. He worked for multiple shops, not just one. He's been all over the world. And you listen to the story, and the underlying kind of story behind it is he just kept pushing. He wasn't a 16-year-old kid. It's like, oh, dude, you have a lot of talent. Here's everything you want and a check. He worked for everything he has.
It's out there.
Well, and I think another thing for me personally too, the whole factory deal is the money that I make doing this, I put right back into it. Because for me, I look at it as my own business. I'm trying to grow myself, grow my brand, and keep going, past go-karts. And I don't think a lot of people see that too, is the amount of time and commitment and money that even though you're a factory driver, you're still putting into this stuff, whether it's you're at the shop from 8 to 8 every day, and then you get home and you're on your laptop for 3 or 4 hours at night working on sponsorship proposals, communicating with sponsors, communicating with your helmet guy, your suit guy, there's a lot of moving parts that you got to stay on top of.
BigZJerky.com.
Big Z Jerky, there you go. Yeah, no, exactly. It's people like that allow me to be able to go race and travel all around, and just like a lot of other karters out there that have, whether it's their parents, companies, friends, or actual sponsors paying it,
There you go, Ryan.
Yeah, my dad put me in place.
The bottom line is it has to make dollars in order for it to make sense.
Exactly.
Right. So
yeah,
we've all. Ryan Ruth's been asked, I guarantee you, Ryan Ruth's been asked, how do I become a sponsored driver on your team? What does a sponsored driver mean? It means you get to pit with me for free, or you get to use a go-kart, right? Oh, what about a factory driver? What does all that mean, right? And people see the volume of dollars flowing through our sport, but in the grand scheme of things, if a business owner is collecting 10 or 15% on his money at the end of the day, he's doing a good job in the sport. That means for every supported driver, for every driver you're paying for, there better be 8 to 10 other dudes in the tent just to pay for him.
Yeah.
Well,
it's rough.
I
just to pay for him.
Just to pay for him without
winning
additional dollar, without making any more money, right? So I can remember when I was doing the team thing a little more than I was before I transitioned more to promoter and host, and distributor. People say, well, I'll go in races. I go, okay, that in the end that guy wins. Paul Bonilla wins races. I don't spend $1 on Paul Bonilla. Like Paul Bonilla comes and hangs out with me, and John Crow comes and hangs out with me, and those are my 2 factory drivers I've had of all time, right? We traveled the country together, but I didn't pay for them. We just hung out, and so like I said, if it's that 10-15%, you got to bring 8 or 10 more dudes, or 8 or 10 more drivers. You go grab your 8 or 10 drivers, bring them along with you, sign them to our deal. They're going to spend the whole year with us, and then then I can pay for you. And by the way, I still haven't made $1 more because they simply paid for you.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part is people, like I said, younger drivers that have had some measure of success, they see the volume of dollars and think there's just this flow of money. There's a flow of money, but it's not, we do this as a labor of love. I mean, not like Ryan's paying a mortgage, I'm paying a mortgage, right? You're paying a mortgage, Jason. I'm not saying that we're destitute, but I'm saying is this is a labor of love and we still have a right to earn our living, but none of us are millionaires by grand scheme of things, for sure.
Yeah. And if you're new or younger and you're listening to this, like, oh, I'm going to give up. Well, you weren't going to make it anyway. You have to have that determination. You need to keep fighting. You need to outlast the other guys. And you just keep hustling.
You talk about Gary that lived in the Kata Track Magic Factory. You talk about Ron White, who used to travel the country in the oldest Ford pickup truck I've ever seen be able to I mean, it is unbelievable, right? These guys sacrificed, and I mean that's what they did because they love it and they lived it. You got to live it. I mean, that's just part of it. And unless your dad can buy the Formula One team, that's pretty much how you're going to have to try to make it, right?
Yeah. Even then, it still takes the effort. Differently, but
different effort.
A different effort, but it still takes the effort.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, we're getting pretty late here, but just talking, circling back to Pat's Acres, like anybody that hasn't been to that go-kart track, you gotta go. It is the coolest, most amazing go-kart track. If I owned a go-kart track, that would be the one I would want.
Then you'd have to move.
It's necessarily
you'd have to move
the
out
best.
of your desert, by the way.
It's not necessarily that it's the best racing track. It is an awesome place. Like the trees. Whenever I went there, we'd always pit next to this tree, and I swear it's 20 feet around.
Yeah.
and it's unbelievable. The track's canopied, but it's like going camping at the go-kart track. But the camping part is first. Then you get to race your go-kart there. The old where the go-kart shop is like a historical building. It was a speakeasy at one time. So
they said that the Mamas and the Papas and Jimi Hendrix actually played in that.
It's freaking wild. And then there's a river running right behind it that you can go fishing in.
Yep. Well, you see the river's on the left side and the top side of that picture.
Yeah.
And the river actually goes on the bottom side too, but you just can't see it.
Motocross track in the back through those trees.
Yep.
And the nicest family of karting runs the place. It's badass.
Nicest family.
It's one of my favorite facilities.
They're really nice. Chris and his wife and all their kids are badass.
And Chris, who was a longtime race director, Lisa, who could do anything, scoring and admin wise. Maddie, who is my race secretary and also works for other organizations. Dalton, the other son, sometimes works for SCUSA, also works for IMSA in their officiating department. And the younger son, Brady, is a mechanic in Rollison Performance Group. Like if they're not the first family of karting, nobody is at this point. You know what I mean? They're like everybody's still there every single day.
Yeah, it's just the track is so cool, and then driving the track too. You have the banks, you have leaning into the corners, and you're going through the trees. From a driving standpoint, it's almost like your own mini roller coaster.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, that's why I want to continue to go up there. I mean, we need to, as I said earlier in the show, if we don't continue to support these tracks, they're either going to go away or they're going to cease to be tracks that are at our disposal. It will become a full-time concession and drift track. And we'll want to go up there and they'll say, why? You cost us money. You cost us aggravation. We don't need you. Right.
Yeah. So, we're lucky these track owners have a passion for kart racing.
Oh, for sure.
Because dollar and cents wise, they would go, well, I
guarantee what we pay for rent up there, which is a 5-figure number. But when you come in there for 3 days and you pay, 5 figures to rent the track, it's still less than they're making to run concession carts around there at $40 a pop over and over and over for 9 hours a day.
Yeah.
That they're literally putting, he goes and gets fuel. He's not paying $4 a gallon for fuel. He has some special fuel contract as a farmer for, $2 a gallon. He just has to pay the tax, right? So he's pumping $2 a gallon fuel in on Briggs and Stratton, 7 horsepower engines and just running them all day long. It's amazing.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything to add to tonight's show?
I guess just
Ryan Martin, registered yet?
no, I'm gonna be doing mine tomorrow. We're buttoning everything up tomorrow. We're booking our flights, hotels, all that stuff. So mine will be coming in here pretty quick. I guess just we're excited to be going there. We got drivers coming, we got new go-karts, new brake systems, new bodywork, and we're excited to go test and see how we do and have some fun and see the awesome crew that they have every year. That's the one thing I love about Andy Seesemann. It's the same crew every year, and they're the best crew, I think, in any industry in the world. So I can't wait to meet them and go have a good time.
You even surprised Andy with that one. He's like, no, that's going to cost a lot of money.
He just says that because when he stops by my pit, Erik makes him a cocktail.
That's right.
That was that.
So Andy, talk about that. I was kind of newer to your series past couple years. What's the rule at the trailer? You have a rule, a contribution.
So those of you that know, my trailer almost has a full bar in it. The rule is you can come, anybody's welcome. You can come get a drink once, you're welcome to. You can come get a drink twice, you're welcome to. You come a third time, you better bring a bottle and throw it up there. And I'm not saying it has to be a bottle of. No. We don't do mouthwash plastic bottles of Smirnoff vodka. No, we don't do that. But just put a bottle up there for it's a community place. It's a you can call it marketing, you can call it fellowship, you can call it whatever you want. But I like it because it makes my pit the fun pit at the end of the day where people come and just relax. When mechanics, everybody just left. Oh, you there? When mechanics are sick of their drivers and want to come just hang out away from everybody, they do. When team managers are sick of mom and dads and they want to come out, they do. When my race staff are frazzled from being on the track for 13 hours and they just want to grab a cocktail or a beer and chill out, they do. We got the music playing. I mean, Ryan and Ryan have both been to it many, many times, and so have you, Jason. You're sort of getting in the club, but yeah, the third time, just throw a bottle in there, and you're always welcome. That's how it works.
That's how it works. Perfect.
All right, final thoughts.
I told you she's going to hit the end button.
Well, she's got a kid to go. She's got a 2-year-old there. So.
Yeah. Well, and she's trying to keep our show with a timeline, and so people know what to expect from show to show. So
Right.
Let's see.
This was the 2-hour Andy exclusive.
Yeah. And I want 2 more hours.
All right, guys.
All right, hey, Andy, we'll let you, since you're already on the big screen, we'll let you wrap it up. And then what we'll do is when I drop you off, you're not kicked out of the broadcast. You're just off the screen. So stay on until we actually end it.
All right. So what do you want me to do? You faded for a minute.
Oh, I was just saying, how would you like to close your portion of the show out? Because this really was about
I'm excited. I'm excited for year 15. It's been an unbelievable ride, and I'm ready for the next 15 for sure. Every year it's a little bit better. We work harder to make sure it's better than the year before, and I'm excited to see some teams that aren't represented tonight, but then that's okay. That are coming back after hiatus, so that's going to be good. I think we're going to build on what we did last year at our record numbers last year, and I'm just excited for a new year to start. I mean, it's so crazy, right? These off seasons are so short. It used to be, man, we'd be done, it seems like in Labor Day and wouldn't start till Easter. And now it's like we're done the day before Christmas and we start up the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just happy and grateful for the level of support I get from the teams, 2 of which are represented here tonight, and so many others that have been with us for so many years. And I just say thank you to them and all our customers that keep coming back and enjoy what we do. We work really, really hard. I make a living doing this, but I enjoy every minute of it. And thank you. And hopefully we'll see you in 3.5 weeks in Tucson.
Yeah. And then you mentioned some of your other teams and stuff. Let's do a mid-year show. We'll bring some other people on and give you another 4 hours.
Perfect, buddy. Ashley will come through, but that's okay.
So there we have it. Andy Seesemann with Challenge of the Americas. Website, challengekarting.com. And then we'll go to next. Let's go to Ryan Martin or Ryan Ruth. Who wants to go next?
Whoever.
Whoever. All right, you spoke up. You're next.
All right.
So Ryan Martin, factory pilot for Ron White Racing. So you're standing in on behalf of Ron White tonight.
Yes,
What are
I
your
am.
final thoughts?
I guess just want to say, hopefully everyone had a good Christmas holidays and Happy New Year. We're excited to get out there and see our friendly karting faces. It's been a long 4 weeks since we last saw you guys, but we're excited to see you guys again, and looking forward to it. I mean, Jason Berry, Norcal Karters. Are you gonna be there?
I don't know. I haven't really been advertising my services as a mechanic. I kind of like being lazy.
Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind. I think I'm good for the first race at Phoenix. I'm looking short, so I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, we're looking forward to it, and it'll be a good time. I love going to Tucson every year, and I've only driven that track in a tag, and it's badass. So I can only imagine now with 6 gears and front brakes how much more fun it's going to be. So it should be a good time.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot. Going down to Tucson.
Okay.
If you're gonna put a stopwatch on 2 guys in the shifter class, who are they?
I would say Hunter Pickett and Kyle Wick. Well, actually, no, Hunter Pickett and Ron White, because Ronnie was faster a couple years ago.
Got it. Oh,
So Hunter Pickett and Ron White.
You hear that, Kyle Wick? You just got bumped by the old man, Ron White, on Ryan Martin's list.
Yep.
It's funny you said that. I mean, everyone knows I'm a homer. But yeah, Hunter Pickett at Tucson. There's something about that track and his driving style.
Well, I know they were there in 2019, and I know he pieced out, and I know Ron came from the back and drove through the field and finished second or something. So I know those 2 guys are pretty quick there. So hopefully we're up there with them, or hopefully driving away from them.
There you go. And there you have it, Ryan Martin, Ron White Racing. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. Next up, we'll have, let's see here. We'll have Ryan Ruth.
Well, I'll keep it short. It's past my bedtime. Thanks for having me on. And I guess we'll see everybody in Tucson in a couple weeks, 3 weeks.
So turn around. Who's laying on the bed back there?
I don't know where that came from. My son came in here and thought that was funny.
That is.
What's
funny.
that guy's name? The big orange ape that's sitting on your Jorge? That's Jorge.
Jorge the ape. Well, thanks for joining us. It was good catching up with you. It's been a while.
Have a nice night.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. And then next up, we have Ashley. Do you want to have some closing thoughts?
Yeah. All right, guys. If you want to talk about karting, come on our show. We're reaching out to our sponsors. We're reaching out to our contacts just to see and get some new people on the show. So if you want to talk about karting, let us know. And we'll see you next week. Peace, NorCal.
Thank you very much. And thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. We had some good interaction there on Facebook and YouTube with the comments. And again, anytime we live stream, you can always chat. We'll do the best we can to answer the questions. Some of them we don't have the inside knowledge on, but other times we're going to have fun with it. So thank you for joining, and tune in next week. So we're going to try to do these once a week. And thank you again to our guest, Andy Seesemann, challengekarting.com, Ryan Ruth from Ruthless Karting, and Ryan Martin from Ron White Racing. Thank you again. And just remember, if everybody just gets one person in the sport next year, just one, we'll double. Have a great night.